Hello, and welcome back to Mindset Matters. My name is Vic. I am feeling so good today. Last week, recording the episode, I'll be honest, I was very tired by the end. I talked a little bit of how I got knee surgery, and even editing the last episode, I felt really slow and not very energized. So I'm happy to report that I feel more energized this week. Oh, I've got a fresh chai with me. It's so good. One more sip. Okay. So we're feeling good. How are you guys? I hope you're doing well. I hope you've had a good week. And, this is going out on Monday. So Monday, fresh start to the week. So let's jump into today. Today is kind of a newer concept to me, to be honest. And it's something we're going to work through together. So would I say I'm an expert? Absolutely not. Because it's something that I've just kind of been introduced to and been more discovering, I guess, about myself. And that is the importance of clarity. So, clarity in terms of what you want, clarity in terms of what is holding you back, clarity of who you are, who are the right people to surround yourself with, who are the people that might be holding you back. So, gaining clarity in life and really trying to get to the root of what it is that you want. So for me, for example, the reason this was introduced to me, I'll kind of give a little backstory. But first, I want to talk a little bit about myself. I feel like I am someone who's very motivated. I embrace change. I really am happy with the things that I'm currently working on and the direction I'm kind of taking myself. Yet I was confronted with a situation recently that kind of got me stuck. And I realized that I have been lacking a sense of clarity or holding myself back in certain ways. So that question came on a call that I was on. So I recently joined this community called XXO Connect. It's essentially a membership community where there are different experiences throughout the week, and it's all live. You show up, you chat. There's different experts and coaches who talk about different subjects. So one of the rooms that I went to the other week, it was with a woman named Claudia. She is awesome. And her room focuses on kind of self-care and your daily wellness. And the question she kind of presented to me was, what is stopping you from crossing the bridge to get to what is waiting for you? So imagine your life, you're on one side of the bridge, everything you want or all your kind of dreams, desires, let's say, are on the other side of the bridge. And the question was, what's stopping you from crossing the bridge? And my response to this question was, I feel like I am crossing the bridge. I feel like I'm putting one foot in front of the other and I'm crossing the bridge, but I guess I don't really know what's waiting for me on the other side. And she kind of pushed me on it and she said, okay, it sounds like you're lacking some clarity. And at first I kind of was like, no, I feel like I know generally what I want. I just don't know exactly what it's going to look like or how it's going to manifest. And that's okay. Like, I don't need to have all the answers. And she kind of pushed me on it. And one thing I talked about was how I really want to travel this summer. And she's like, okay, well then what's holding you back? And I talked about how if I might live with a friend, it kind of depends on if it works out with her and on blah, blah, blah. And almost making these excuses of like not wanting to disappoint myself. And she was like, okay, but what if we just took that away and we didn't make these excuses of, if it doesn't work out, I'll be fine. Because I think that's a good mindset to have. But I think it kind of is trying to set yourself up for no disappointment in life. And when we really go for things, chances are you're going to feel disappointment because things are not always going to work out. So this is kind of where this journey of clarity kind of came in for me. And I started to really think about, okay, what do I want? What is it that I actually want and want to manifest into my life versus just feeling like I'm crossing the bridge but not knowing what's waiting for me? Yeah, so how to get to clarity. So I guess what we're going to explore today is, what does it mean to have clarity and to kind of fully go for things? Why are we missing clarity in the first place? How do we get clarity in our life? How is it beneficial? And do we need it? Like, is it necessary to have full clarity of our dreams or goals? And all of those things. So we're going to kind of dive into those questions. And I'm excited for this one because it's still new. It's still something my brain is working around. And I'm trying to really push myself to stop certain bad habits that I've noticed. So let's dive into it. And one thing I'll say with this episode is I would encourage you to grab a journal. If you have some time, get a journal and you can write down certain questions I'm going to ask. And, if you're someone who's lacking clarity and you really want to get some clarity, then there's going to be some kind of exercises I suggest in this episode. So if you have the time and you want to, get a journal so you can write some stuff down. I think it would be really beneficial. So first of all, let's kind of look at what clarity is. Like for me, when I define for myself clarity or words that I think of when I think of clarity, clarity to me makes me think of accountability. It makes me think of not holding back and pushing through fear. Are kind of like three themes, I guess, that I feel like go with clarity. Because when you have clarity and you get clear with yourself on what you want, well, then you kind of have to hold yourself accountable to go for it. If you're living your life with this idea of like, oh, I don't really know, or, whatever, I'm fine with wherever the wind takes me, that's kind of an excuse in a way to not really be going for anything. And while I think, and I talk a lot about having this level of flexibility of how life will throw things at you, of course, but let's not confuse that with debilitating yourself to then making excuses for not going for your goals. Because if you don't really have the big goals or you don't really know what those look like, then how could you even make that work, right? So for me, clarity means holding yourself accountable. The second thing I said was not holding back. That kind of goes, right? When you get clear on what you want, you kind of have to go for it, or you should go for it. And pushing through fear. Okay, we know that really diving into something, going for something can be scary. So I think pushing through fear is something that is super important and something that we can get through clarity. Okay, so first question I want to look at together. What does it mean to have clarity and to fully dive in to something? So going back to the analogy of crossing the bridge, one thing that Claudia on this call had kind of mentioned was, are you crossing the bridge with one foot in front of the other, or is it like a situation where you need to just sprint across the bridge? And for me, that's kind of like, am I taking slow steps towards something, or am I diving right in? Because I think I've talked about this before, I cannot remember what episode, but sometimes you need to just jump in and go for it, because taking these little baby steps, sometimes we use the baby steps as an excuse of like, yeah, I'm taking action, but then you're not really pushing yourself to get anywhere. So I think clarity is like, or what does it mean to really go for something is to decide, well, what actionable steps do I need to take, and at what level do I need to just go for it? I think a lot of people get caught in like the planning stages of things and they want everything to be perfect before they launch something, but it's almost never perfect, or we don't know what perfect looks like. So then we get caught up in planning instead of just going for it. And a good example and something I'm proud of myself for is with this podcast even, is when I started this, like I didn't really know what the heck I was doing. I ordered a microphone. I had my theme, my idea. I made an intro. And it was like, okay, I brainstormed some ideas of what I would talk about. I figured out, okay, how am I going to upload? What does that look like? And I just did it. It was like a thought in my brain to actually making my first few episodes was like a few weeks' time. So I just dove in. I was like, okay, let's do it. And I'm proud of myself for that, because it kind of taught me that like I can do things and I can show up imperfectly, but that can still be progress, and I'll figure it out along the way. And, I'll improve with my quality of audio and my video quality and everything as I go. And I think part of that process can be fun as well. So if you're in the planning stages, for me, getting clarity and like going for it is allowing yourself to do it even if it's imperfect, which I think is really important. Don't get caught in the planning stages forever. Obviously, you want to plan and make things good, and you don't want to just like throw out some sloppy, not good work, but I think you get the point that I'm saying here. And so the second part of this question of like, okay, what does it mean to have clarity and fully go for something? I think something that I was doing and probably still do, like this is something new I'm exploring. So this is like habits I have to break, is I would think about things that I want. Okay. And I would say, oh, that would be amazing, or this would be great, or this is what I want. But, if it doesn't work out, like I'll be fine. And again, going back to kind of what I mentioned in the intro is like, I would almost set myself up for this excuse of, hey, I'm resilient, so if it doesn't work out though, no big deal. But maybe subconsciously that's me kind of holding myself back in a way of saying, yeah, I really want this, but if I don't get it, it's okay. It's like, well, stop even saying that part. Just, I want this, or this is awesome. This is something I'm going for. Because in my head, I know that I'll be okay if something doesn't work out. I know I'm resilient. We love resilience, okay? We always get back up when things don't work out. But it's like, I don't need to constantly remind myself of that, because that, in a way, is me stopping myself from getting clarity and really going for things. So that was a big realization, and I hope this is making sense so far, because I think a lot of people do this, where they'll make excuses of, oh, I want this, but I don't need it. Or I would love this experience, but, it's okay. I'll get it next time if it doesn't work out. We stop ourselves from fully going for it in a way. We stop ourselves from just saying, I want this. This is what I'm going for. This is what I'm going to make happen. And that's like, period. That to me is clarity. Okay, the next question I want to explore is how to actually get clarity. And this is where I think a journal could be handy for you. So if you want a journal and you want to write some things down, that's my suggestion. Oh, this tea is so good. Okay, how to get clarity. So I first would kind of think about in my journal, what do I love? Okay, who do I see myself as? And I would also answer the question, what does my best self look like? This is something I've been exploring a lot, is like putting myself in the shoes of my highest self and asking myself how she would handle situations, or how she would show up in the world, or what kind of person she is. Because I think that can help us manifest and really bring our higher self into our daily habits. So those are 3 questions so far I would answer. I'm going to repeat them. What do I love? Who do I see myself as? What does my best or highest self look like? Another question. If money were no object, how would I spend my time? And the last one, which is a big one, how am I serving this world? Or in other words, what are my unique qualities that allow me to bring something special to the world? Because I think we all have things that are unique, and the way you think is different than the way someone else thinks. So the way you bring a certain skill to the table is going to be different and beneficial. So think about what that is. What is your unique quality, something that you're passionate about, something that you do really well? And, how is that helpful to the world? Because I think when we have a sense of purpose of we're doing something positive for society, I think that gives us a lot of, I'm missing the vocabulary. It gives us a sense of purpose. And having a sense of purpose is really motivating and really beneficial. Why am I not able to think of the word I want? It makes you feel good. Let's say that. It makes you feel really good to have something that you are kind of offering the world and showing up and knowing this is something that I do well and this is something that I bring to the table. So think about what that might be for you. The second part of getting clarity for me was, okay, I'm going to write out intention statements and like I am statements or I want statements, and that's it, point blank. There's no excuses. There's no but, or there's no afterthought of a backup. Like it's just, this is who I am. I am a successful podcaster. I am this. I am that. This is what I want. These are the things I'm manifesting, period. And then stop yourself from thinking of any excuses of why you can't have that thing. And then the next part, or last part, I guess, is like affirmations. So I know affirmations can be or feel kind of cheesy, and I know some people love affirmations, some people really don't. I think they can be beneficial, but I think writing them out to be more specific to you can be better than just a general affirmation. But some general ones that I would consider writing out and repeating: I am constantly manifesting the life that I want. The universe is on my side. The universe is always bringing me new and exciting opportunities. So those are kind of general that could go for whatever it is that you're thinking about. And I think this exercise helps to get some clarity of like, okay, what is it that I actually want? And how am I stopping myself? And that's kind of what we're going to get into later is, you know, how we hold ourselves back, or who are other people that hold us back, because this can be a huge factor as well. Okay, the last question before we get into how and who hold us back is, how is it beneficial, or why is it beneficial to get clarity in the first place? Because, hey, I haven't had much clarity and I've been doing good up until this point. So why is this suddenly changing my life? Or like, what is this bringing me, this new kind of idea of clarity and really getting down to it? So I think the first thing, which I kind of already talked about, is that it forces you to stop making excuses. Now that I know what I want, I have no excuse but to go for it, right? Or it would be pretty lame of me to start making excuses now that I have this newfound clarity. So once you have clarity, you kind of are forced to confront your excuses and to go for it, which can be scary, but I think that's really, really beneficial. The second thing, clarity is exciting. It kind of unlocks, it's like unlocking this clear vision for yourself of like what you want and who you want to be. And as much clarity as you can get, I feel like it allows you to bring in techniques like visualization, right? So there's this idea of the goal slide, which is essentially like kind of like your vision board in your head of trying to be as specific as possible and have a clear vision of what you're working on. So you might meditate, and or when you go to before you go to sleep, you might have this like goal slide that you're running through your mind, almost like your own personal movie. And I think when you have clarity, it's really much easier to do that because you actually have a more clear vision and can actually use that to your advantage. And I think with the whole thing of it's exciting is it kind of makes you think bigger, and it makes you see what's possible and what the possibilities for you could be and what they are. And again, that's exciting. And I think it's fun to like dream big and to not hold yourself back. Clarity, I would argue, is also kind of just like dreaming big and really saying, okay, what's like best case scenario? Let's start thinking about it. And another way I would say getting clarity is beneficial is for pushing you out of your comfort zone. Kind of going back to the first point of it helps you, or it forces you to stop making excuses. Well, it's also pushing you out of your comfort zone because now you're expecting yourself to go for it and to really do it and to cross that bridge. And I would argue that getting out of your comfort zone and expanding your comfort zone is just super beneficial overall. Okay, so let's go back to our initial analogy, or the initial question that I was asked. which is what is stopping you from crossing the bridge to get to the other side of your dreams or to get to what's waiting for you. So now that we have clarity of what's waiting for us, okay, what's stopping us from getting there or crossing that bridge? I think fear is a big one. It's like, okay, now I have clarity. I'm scared. I'm scared of failing. I'm scared of getting there and it not being what I expect. I think that's a big one, is the more clarity you have, maybe the more expectations you're putting on something, which I think is important to be mindful of, because you want to make sure that you're not being almost too specific. This is the interesting, okay, this is going to be a little aside, but this is the interesting thing about clarity, and I guess something I'm still working through is I try to be very open-minded of, hey, I flow where life takes me, and if something doesn't work out, it will be okay. And in a way, I would almost argue that the more clarity you have, like, is there such thing as too much clarity? Like, if I'm too specific with what I want to manifest, am I going to be disappointed if it doesn't work out exactly that way? Right? Because then we always talk about letting go of the need for it to be a certain way. So it's kind of this toss-up of like, okay, we want clarity, but we don't want to hold too tightly to this vision almost. So that part can be confusing, and I think what is good about clarity is allowing you to really go for things and not hold back, but you do need a level of, it's probably not going to look exactly like I'm imagining it, or there's going to be bumps along the way, right? I think having clarity is great, but keeping in mind that the path to get to what you want, it's not always just crossing one bridge. The bridge might take you over here. You might have to jump off and climb back up. Like, there's different kind of paths, I think, that end up getting us to where we want to go. So I would definitely argue that that's something that I've been maybe using as an excuse with clarity, is like, well, I want to be open to whatever happens, which I still think is good, but to not use that as an excuse for not actually going for what you want and figuring out what you want. Okay, so I think before that tangent, I think I was saying that, like, we get afraid. Okay, if fear can hold us back, because now it's scary to be like, ooh, I know what I want, but now I have to go get it. That's actually the scary part, right? Taking action. And I also want to talk about who holds us back, because I think the people you surround yourself with is so important. And if you are surrounding yourself with people who don't support your ideas, or who you don't feel comfortable talking to about things, then it's going to be really challenging to kind of break free from this fear, because I want to feel like I can talk to someone about something and be like, hey, guess what? Like, this is what I want, or like, this is what I'm working towards. And I want that person to hype me up and be like, heck yes, go for it. You would be awesome at this. This is amazing for you, etc. So I think it's important to be mindful of, who is in my life. Do I feel comfortable sharing certain things with people, or do I feel like I have to tiptoe around things? Because at the end of the day, you need people in your life who are supportive. Now, I would also say, not every friend in your life needs to be someone you talk about your dreams with. I, for example, have a couple friends that I will talk to about this stuff. The stuff that I'm working on will kind of go back and forth. They'll ask me questions about it if I'm, again, lacking clarity. And I appreciate those friendships, because I know you support me. I can ask you and you'll give me your honest opinion. And I have other friends who I just don't really talk about it with, or I'll, when people ask me about the podcast and stuff, or like, oh, what's your goal with the podcast? Like, yeah, I'll kind of talk about it. But there's certain people where I can go full in and I'm like, yeah, this is all the stuff I'm dreaming about and whatever. So it's important to be mindful of, like, okay, you don't have to talk to everyone about it, but you also don't want people in your life who are dragging you down. And if you are like, I want to go for this, and they're like, oh, that's kind of stupid, or oh, you'll fail, or whatever. Cut those people out. You do not need anyone telling you can't do something. Because what I've learned is when people express negative opinions towards you or what you're doing, they're really saying that they're almost coming from a place of lack within themselves of like, oh, I'm just upset because I don't have the courage to do what that person's doing. So I'm going to put them down because I don't want them to do it and be better than me. So think about that. And if you're someone who sometimes discourages your friends, be reflective. Is it coming from a place of you just feel jealous? Is it coming from a place of you have some sort of inferiority complex where you don't want them to be superior to you? You know, it's important to really be thinking about like, why don't I want my friends to succeed? Like if a friend tells you about something, you should be excited for them. And if you're not, and your initial reaction is negative, it's coming from a place of lack within yourself. So definitely explore that. I've definitely been there in my life where I've heard about other people doing things and it made me feel jealous. And it's like, whoa, pause. Why am I jealous? You know, why do I feel negatively about this? Like I should be happy for this person. So I think it definitely takes some exploration. Anyways, this is kind of totally off topic, but yeah, who holds you back? People in your life can hold you back. And if you're constantly receiving negative feedback from people, or you don't feel comfortable expressing yourself with the people around you, then it's going to be really hard to get clarity and to go for things. Because as much as we want to be self-sufficient, and as much as I want to sit here and say, I'm so independent that I can go for things and I have no fear, I'll be honest, the amount of support that I get from my friends and family is the thing that pushes me to keep going when you're kind of questioning, what the heck am I doing? Or is this a dumb idea? And then I talked about this in my podcast about validation and feedback, right? Validation is something that we all receive in some form. And while I think we need to be mindful of the type of validation we want, getting positive feedback or having our friends tell us and validate our ideas is really helpful, especially when we get clarity and we're excited about something. I should be able to share that with the people in my life and have them react positively. So definitely be mindful of who you share things with and who you spend your time with. If you're around people who are constantly negative, constantly complaining about life, whatever thing they're complaining about, it's going to bring you down. So be around positive people and be around people who support you and like gas you up and tell you your ideas are great, because that's what's going to motivate you to actually get things done and take action. All right, I'm going to end this here. I hope this was helpful. I hope you got your journal out and go back and write down some questions, and I hope this is helpful to you. And let's get some clarity. Where are we going? I think it's exciting. And again, it's a new concept I'm exploring for myself, but I think that can be fun to talk about and kind of work through my thought process with you guys. I hope you guys have a beautiful week wherever you are. Do not forget to subscribe, leave me a comment, like this video if you're on the tube. And I think that's all for me. So I will chat with you guys very soon.